Hello, I'm Velma McColl, and I'm here to ask you to wake up to Canada's potential in clean tech, to lift your eyes and see that if we make smart choices today, we can look a decade down the road to when clean tech is part of our Canadian brand. We're starting from a position of strength. Today, clean tech in Canada is an $11 billion industry, employing more than 40,000 people. There are hundreds of entrepreneurs in every region of this country exporting their technologies to the US, Europe, Latin America, and Asia in a $1 trillion global market. It's no longer a cottage industry. Canada has developed dozens of mature technologies that are ready to move to commercial scale, to double production and employment, to build plants around the world, and to be integrated into global supply chains. But we also need to be alive to the fact that today we're holding ourselves back, caught by some old ideas that limit our creativity and, frankly, our economic potential. The first limiting belief is a conundrum that we haven't solved in decades, maybe in my generation, maybe in my daughter's, the old idea that we have to choose the economy or the environment. Not true. Clean tech smashes these two together and proves that both can benefit. Clean tech creates business opportunities by lowering our footprint on the planet. And it is also becoming a new frontier in business productivity since resource efficiencies trim the bottom line, and more businesses are recognizing this. Second, I am asking you to open yourself up to a broader definition of what clean tech is. Many people think of clean tech as only renewable energy. Yes, it includes wind, solar, biomass, hydro, but it is so much more. It's green chemistry, smart grids, large-scale battery storage, energy efficiency in buildings, water and wastewater, more efficient agriculture, and the shift in transportation to lighter, more efficient, and increasingly electric cars and transit. All of these innovations seek higher environmental performance for the goods and services that we use every day. That's clean tech. And we have leading companies in almost every one of these areas. Now, Canada won't own the market in every one of these areas, but we can compete in most. And this leads directly to another myth, another false dichotomy that says we have to choose between what some would call the old economy and a new one. That we can flip a switch, just like we do with our lights, and stop developing our natural resources, and then our environmental challenges will be solved. Again, not true. Natural resources are part of the wealth of our nation. There's no magic switch for a CEO or a political leader to flip. Improvements will happen on a continuum, and we waste time picking sides when we should find ways to accelerate the pace and the scope of the change along that continuum. That means recognize the hundreds of consumer and societal choices we face today, this year, and in the coming decades about our systems in energy, transportation, and the built environment. Plenty of trade-offs. And in our great, vast country, let's be honest that the answers will depend on what region you live in. So there's no question it's complex, and it's hard, and change is hard. But it's not a reason for paralysis. No matter where you are, solutions exist today that help us make our old economy our new one. We see it in all kinds of process efficiencies, in energy and manufacturing, in forestry, in mining, through creative engineering, closed-loop production with little or no waste, land remediation. All of these are clean tech too. So let's change our thinking. The old and new economy are complementary. What would happen if we thought about it like that? Not competitive, complementary and not competitive. Clean tech is a bridge between the two. And let's stop making villains of our natural resource players. I grew up in a forestry and mining town. It distracts us from practical choices today, and more importantly, from cheering and even seeing the clean tech innovations in these sectors. It also obscures the many places, Alberta, BC, Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, where energy conversations are shifting. And I think we have to recognize that we're in an inflection point. Things are starting to change. We have a couple of other blind spots that I want to quickly talk about that are causing clean tech to be left behind in our trade and foreign aid. For instance, clean tech is now recognized as central to a global climate change response. And it's happening away from the UN process. It's there, the UN process is there, but there's a network of business, investors, and governments that are creating partnerships with developing countries to build low-carbon infrastructure from the beginning. Canada is currently not part of this network, but we could start writing clean tech explicitly into our foreign aid policies, as so many of our G8 partners are doing. On trade, Europe, China, South Korea, Latin America, India, all want clean tech solutions that we have. So why not start making clean tech a bigger part of our trade agreements starting now? Why don't we do these things? I've been working in this business for 20 years. We talk about it a lot, we lurch forward, we fall back. But change is hard, and we're letting these 20th century concepts get in the way. We're staying analog when the world is going digital. If we release the old ideas and address the blind spots, we could unleash much more of Canada's potential. We've made progress over the last 10 years, and I'm not saying that the sector doesn't have work to do. It has to do more to move from development to deployment and access more in debt financing. But other countries are overcoming these challenges, and so must we. So here we are in our nation's capital, and my final point tonight is to say that there is one more area where we need more ingenuity, and that's in public policy. Government doesn't have all the answers, but it can be much more creative about explicitly recognizing a clean tech industry and then working across municipal, provincial, territorial, and federal boundaries to speed their adoption. Not with subsidies, and I repeat, not with subsidies. We've been there, we've done that, we've got the t-shirt, but we have other options. Agile, modern policies, such as carbon pricing, tax incentives, and new cooperative financing tools that leverage private sector money. The global clean tech market is projected to be $2.5 trillion in the next 6 years. If we had only 1% of that global market in 2020, clean tech in Canada would be the size of our aerospace industry today. That's something we should all want a piece of. And I'm looking forward to leadership from our premiers who've have promised a Canadian energy strategy next year that will have more balance, more innovation, and more clean tech. And businesses must do more to support homegrown innovations. I mean, there's an irony here. In the clean tech sector, we say Canada has a great Buy America policy. In order to sell something globally in clean tech, you have to have customers at home. And we could be doing so much more in this area to support our clean tech providers. Leadership by our banks and major resource, engineering, manufacturing, and multinational players is essential. I could have spent my entire 7 minutes wowing you with cool Canadian innovations, but instead I want to encourage you to move away from the old ideas and go looking for clean tech stories. Find them in your community, champion their products at home and abroad, and if the world needs more Canada, it especially needs more Canadian clean tech. Thank you.